this meeting to order. I don't really have to do that.
I think you just did.
Okay, let's call this meeting. So Michael is going to be dialing in to give us. All right, Michael, you want to start with your update on the DOLA incentives grant?
Yeah, sure. And I want to keep this real brief, but this is the culmination of where we tried to get, was to have a board for the Regional Housing Authority. You guys do have a full agenda ahead of you tonight, so I'm going to keep it brief. But I did want to give a real quick update. So the IHOI grant that we submitted, Jackie has done a fantastic job of going to the planning conference and presenting on behalf of Lake County to DOLA and all the planners. So that speaks volumes that they thought we made great progress. So I'm really hopeful. The bad news is there was 54 applications for $19 million. Is that right, Jackie?
The total ask is 93 million.
Yeah, and the total ask is 93 for 19 million. So to say it's competitive is an understatement. But I do think that given the progress we made on all the qualified strategies, that we're going to be competitive. We will hear back probably in November, just given the timing of where all the meetings are sitting on whether we're selected to formally apply. If we are, we schedule assist in ensuring that grant application gets across the finish line. The only other thing of cleanup, or not cleanup, but last qualified strategy is that I'm working with the city on a subdivision exemption standard for townhouses, and condominiums, and that will allow the city to subdivide off individual units once they're built. But that's the last qualified strategy that we're working on. So we're nearing the end of the grant. Actually, November, this month is actually probably the last month that we're formally under contract. But again, we will schedule assist on ensuring that if selected, we get the grant written and formally submitted. But we are wrapping up. So I'm excited, and congratulations on your first board meeting.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the at-large board member. I sent everybody a packet. Did you have a chance to open it? Do you have a chance to review all the board members? So in front of you, a prospective board member information sheet from, and then we had talked about perhaps interviewing the top 3 so that we can kind of narrow it down so we can get this board seated. So if you wanted to vote with the ballot and indicate who your top 3, if you're comfortable with that, you might want to come back for an interview. It was just an idea to proceed that way. So if you have any other ideas, so let me know.
Take it if we do the interview process, that would be at the next meeting, or would that be totally separate?
So we'll need to talk about how we want to go forward. If we want to have, I feel like there's so much that we need to get through so we can actually start doing some things. It would be nice if everybody's available. We could have another meeting maybe to do interviews. I think maybe for the foreseeable future, we might need to do 2 meetings a month at least, just to get things going. You guys let me know your thoughts on that.
So that, I mean, I agree with you that we have a lot to do, which will mean a lot more meetings to decide things. So then, but the proposal for this is so to vote and then to do interviews at our next meeting. So on the top 3 or however the ballot. But
Yes.
okay.
I have a top 5.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's fine.
I feel like top 3 would just mean it's 3 open positions, right? Top 5 makes more sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Haven't thought that through. Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, and I know like the commissioners had a conversation, well, Jeff and I did, and Taylor wasn't there, on the letters of interest thus far. Christian that in and listen to that conversation too. And I was just trying to think about, well, I'm gonna go, well, now that I was gonna say that out loud, I kind of talked myself out of it. I was curious about like, oh my gosh, what do we have? The extra folks that don't actually cast a formal vote.
Ex officio.
Ex officio or, look at the planning commission.
The alternate.
Alternates.
Yeah.
Is that something to consider as well, or can we invite people as ex officio? Because I think there's some folks that I think would be great to have as like their perspective, kind of as, I wonder if they're like referral agencies and I don't know.
I'm new at all of this, so I think when I was thinking about the top three, I was thinking everybody chooses their top three, and then we would have a list of all the people that we chose.
Mhm.
And then we would go from interviewing, go forward, interviewing with those folks. As far as other people, we also have to fill the grievance committee and the development subcommittee. So if there's some people that might be more suitable for those committees.
And all these meetings are open meetings. I'm sure that we could just have to and invite them, and potentially have space for, I guess, experts of the field to speak.
So we wouldn't oppose to having a alternate. Something that maybe just in case someone drops out, for whatever reason, unexpectedly, we could have that position filled right away.
You know. We have, okay with the alternate, but I don't think our originating document specified that, or I think it would have to be up to this board to do it. In the event of someone leaving the not or rest with the board to appoint a new member. And farther down the line, if this does become a taxing entity, then. The elections.
That I need to interview my top line. Do you want to try to come up with a top five right now? Or do you want us to just submit that to you?
However you would like to do it. You want
What
to,
if we, how about, so you did suggest 2 meetings a month, so one later this month. So what if we set that? Work backwards, if we're gonna do the.
when is everyone available? This is so much easier than emailing.
So the question now is to interview or not interview, so we're different.
We're scheduling this meeting for potential.
intention.
I don't think we decided if interview or not interview makes sense. I mean, I think it depends. I feel like if there's a good consensus of what we feel, I don't know if there's necessarily a need to interview them. So if we all end up voting on
This, we can come up with the top 5. All agree to the top 3 without the interview process. That can be done informally by an email. If we can, we should do about that. For the interview. So does that make sense?
So we're gonna split top 5 or top 3 to Jackie.
Well, how about we all do our top 3?
Sure.
And we can come up with the top 5 from that.
That's what I was thinking. We vote on our top 3, and if there's enough of a conflict, there's 5 people, and then potentially there's interest of interview. Depending on how big the margins are.
Is that something you want us to look at now or bring it back to you next month?
I'd say it makes sense to look at it now if we're all ready.
Okay, should I just read off the names and you wanna tell me if that person's in your top 3, or how do you wanna?
I think that works.
Okay, so Angel,
Yes.
Yeah.
Clara,
Yes.
Craig, Deidre, Ferris, Francisco, Greg Berry, Matt Delaney, Rod Weston, Shannon Grant, Stephanie McBride. Okay. So, now if I, now what?
You just read
Okay.
off the top places.
Okay, so Angel has 3, Francisco has 3, Clara has 2, Rod has 2. Deidre, Matt, and Steph each have 1.
I didn't vote for Cisco, but I'd be happy to include him if that's the group feels.
And I didn't vote for Clara, but I think she'd be really valuable as well. And I voted for Deidre because she represents demographics that I think are important, and she's also in the district. I'm thinking about engaging people in a different way. She has the least, well, other than the folks that we also didn't vote on together. Deidre really, I think, has the least experience, but.
Okay, so the top 3 are Angel, Clara, and Francisco. How do you all feel about them as your top 3?
I'd be happy with that top 3.
How is the school district gonna feel? Well, not having it.
That's a good question.
Oh, and I'm sorry, Claire's only top 3 if we add that extra vote, because Rod and Clara both have 2 votes.
I think Clara brings a pretty valuable thing to our board that no one else would be able to, including school district, with the homelessness work that she's done. And I've experienced through the Housing Coalition. So I'd be hard pressed to find someone else with more direct service experience in homelessness, which is a growing issue.
So you're top, you have 4 who had the most votes, so Angel, Clara, Cisco, and Rod.
Mhm.
To be fair, I voted 4 times.
So we're supposed to vote for you, both of them.
Okay, so do you want to have a tiebreaker for Clara and Rod? Should we vote for Clara and Rod as the 3rd person?
I would be comfortable with Angel, Clara, and Cisco, but I really want to like ask the school district their thoughts on not having someone on the board.
I agree.
We're not required to have school district member on board.
No, I know. But they are, we're hoping that they will donate land to the housing authority. Grading style.
I think they would do that regardless. They have housing needs.
I also hope so, but I feel like they probably want a seat at the table if they're gonna do that, though. I mean, to be honest, they get plenty of power with choosing, you know, what predetermined requisites there are in donating land. They get to say what their tier system looks like, basically, as our prerequisites, and as our tier ones. So they don't necessarily need someone on the board.
Feel like they would have a seat at the table regardless.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll,
Maybe land.
and I'm sure they'll be invited to every meeting that we have as well. I'd be happy with the top three that we have chosen already, but Clara, I think, would be a more valuable add than Rob. No, I voted for Rob.
Do you mind if I share something with you guys? After your guys' last meeting where you had said that you were prioritizing a seat for the school district, I shared that with them. Because they couldn't attend that meeting and they followed up with all three of the five people reached out to me individually and said, what's going on? And I said, well, this is what I heard at the meeting. I said, it's not like a guaranteed seat. It's not written into like the bylaws or anything, but at that time of that conversation, it sounded like you guys were prioritizing setting aside a seat. I just wanted you to know that, that I shared. I mean, that was a public meeting that was recorded and put out.
I'm good with Angel, Clara, and Cisco.
Tim?
I'm fine with Angel, Clara, and Cisco.
Yeah,
I agree.
Christian, okay, all right, that takes care of that, and we're running early, who would have thought? All right, so.
Do you want, okay, sorry, if any of them decline or don't understand like the time commitments of this board, how do we handle that? I suppose we should have a backup. Or we can wait.
I don't mind the idea of a backup.
Okay, Tim, who would you like as your backup?
I don't know. I mean, my top three were already there. Oh, I like the idea of Leadville.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sarah?
Thanks. I'm gonna say Rod, I guess, as that representation.
Tim?
Well, I just like the idea, of course, Matt's not in the mix, I guess, but. He's got some background in law, and he's also building some local housing, so he's got a good perspective.
Think about the development subcommittee too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be in favor of just going three without a backup. You need a backup, cross that bridge when you get there.
It's fair.
Okay, let's grab that bridge. When we get
Okay.
there.
Moving right along. So discussion of legal matters. So a couple of things that we need to have vetted by the attorneys. So we're gonna have 3 attorneys call in today, so that you can think about if you would like any of them to represent the housing authority. But some of the things that we need to have them look at immediately are the bylaws, the employment agreement, which is basically lending me from the county, so I keep my benefits, to the housing authority, and then if we get further employees, they have the same situation, and that's mirrored from Summit County. And then, of course, we'll be back to talking about the guidelines. And then the final thing is I wanted to talk to you about in preparing for this meeting. I wasn't really sure how to publicly notice the meeting. So I did it the way that we did all of the previous meetings, but wanted to get your input on that. As well as to find out what we're supposed to be doing with that.
So in terms of bylaws. The IGA looks a lot like bylaws to me.
It spells a lot of things out, and we took notes and sent them when we thought Chris and Christiana were going to be preparing them. The results from the meeting, so we have some good information to go forward with, but my understanding is we will have to update bylaws as well.
It does seem to me like the majority of the IGA is going to be bylaws. Okay. And as far as the employee agreement, I have no problem with that.
And Chris has prepared something, and so we would present that to whichever attorney you choose.
I might be jumping the gun a tiny bit here, but in terms of, I know that in the IGA, there was a specific term stating payment we wouldn't be paid. Does that apply as well for the open board members we elected, or? Because I would imagine, we're all paid to be here, through our respective city and county elections and all that, but they aren't. So is that something that would be written in the bylaws as well, or if we were to agree that that's something that we see as valuable?
It would have been a nice thought when we were putting together the budget to think through on those things, or have the city to match the county's contributions to the housing authority, but I think once the budget's formally adopted, that can be a conversation that can be had, because that's one thing that's giving me anxiety, is that I don't think we have enough funding for translations,
Right.
with the operating funds that we're given.
What kind of stipends do you have in mind this following year? I didn't.
I just
learn about your conversation.
something that I didn't really have any conversations, just something that came up as some of the people I were talking to said they were planning to question if it was a thing that would happen or not. I don't think it is like the most pressing thing, but it's a potential conversation if funds allowed to have that I think would be fair to them. But it's not as important. You can get back to normal business.
But to answer your question, that is something that you could allow in your bylaws.
Yeah.
So, sorry, what's your question now?
What's my question?
Yeah. Oh,
I think we just have to
Yeah. I don't have a
decide,
question.
I mean, once we have legal counsel under contract, it's really into the formation of our bylaws and how this board will operate. We have,
Yeah.
I mean, we have the RTA to start with, but we have to, the officer elections, all of that needs to be done.
okay.
The only thing I'd add to the bylaws, I do agree with Tim that the IGA covered a lot of this, but remember, you have to have officers, bank account authority, check signing, disposal of property, etc. So those are like the nuanced administrative things that would be covered in those bylaws beyond what's in the IGA, especially officers.
The other thing that I noticed in the IGA is that elected officials on the board, their term is good for as long as they're elected term, is that right?
I think that was, yeah.
But we also have someone on the board who's not elected, Tim. And I don't think it outlines his term. I don't think,
When I was appointed, there was, my term is up a year after yours, I think.
Oh, it was a 3-year, yeah.
so
we
that
have
is
those
outlined
staggered.
somewhere. Do you
Yeah.
need to outline that in the bylaws?
I think we'll have to have it in the bylaws. But in the IGA, it is outlined. And it's, yeah,
I didn't notice it, but we'll take your word for it.
I'm fairly certain it is, but I'll double check as well.
Yeah, let's look into that. And the same would go for the city position if we decided not to have. Or if we decided to have one person that was not elected.
Right.
That was I think that was my only issue with that.
So if we could maybe discuss how you'd like to see the public noticing of meetings. Do you want, when we were having our meetings previously, trying to figure out the housing authority, I was sending an email out to about 55 people. Do you want me to do that? Do you want me to just have the city post on the door, the county post on the door, and put it on the website?
I think for formality, posts on doors and websites makes the most sense.
Okay.
And that should be the standard. I think everything else would be extra outreach, and I think we should reach out to valuable partners, people who are involved there a lot, without it necessarily being like a you must do.
Okay.
But I do think that posting on both city and county stores should be a must do.
Okay.
And if we can add it to the DOCC weekly planner.
Yeah, that would be great. That's what I was, sorry, yeah, that's what I was imagining when she said. Post it on the website.
Yeah, because
As a planner and the notification throughout the email. No,
and is that through Claire? Would I just send it to Claire, or is that when I send it to Greg? Is Greg doing it?
You can do it through Claire.
Okay.
And then you can do it through the clerk's office, and you can post in the Herald as well.
Okay.
Along with the board's regular business.
Okay.
And as far as the city's concerned, I guess who does that, Mida or Lori?
Lori does things for, I guess traditionally for planning commission and historic preservation, but then MIDA does Evan council.
So maybe get a hold of. Well, I would get a hold of Lori and then she can delegate it as she
Okay.
would like.
And is this in your opinion, is this a judicial body that requires public notice similar to when you're passing an ordinance?
Yeah, I think so. I think they follow like this basic structure.
15 day minimum public notice in the paper.
Right, and I think the county, no, I think would be a 15 minutes. I don't think they're required. So we publish and just notice on the website and on the county building.
Right.
So I'm sure it goes, but yeah, I think we just do the exact same process.
Okay.
are you saying 15-day notice for a regular meeting or a hearing?
For a hearing,
It would be for a hearing, right?
for a hearing,
Okay.
and then just 24 hours notice for regular.
Okay, so our first, Kendra has joined us.
Hi,
Kendra, I would love for you to introduce yourself, and then we'll go around the room so you can meet the folks that are here.
sure, happy to. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Sorry, I'm a little late. I was on at 6 and I was just eating dinner. Sorry. My name is sorry. My name is Kendra Carberry. I'm from Hoffman, Parker, Wilson, and Carberry, and I would love to help you out with your legal needs. My firm, we represent about 25 municipalities in various sort of areas, but for myself, I represent a couple housing authorities, and I do a ton of housing work, particularly for mountain communities, the town of Vail, the town of Winter Park. And I represent Chafee Housing Authority and the Vail Local Housing Authority. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. I don't want to take too much of your time, but let me know what you would like to hear, and I'm happy to answer.
So as you know, we're brand new getting started. What, do you have any experience with the brand new housing authority and helping us to get set up and do things properly from the start?
Yes, Chafee is in exactly the same position you are. They're about a year ahead, maybe not even 6 months ahead of you. So that's what we are doing right now. We are setting up they kind of set it up, but we're working on all of the things we need to do to get it going for the Chafee Housing Authority. So it's in a similar situation. And yes, happy to, I have a ton of templates that you all can use for projects such as deed restrictions and rental restrictions and lots of things like that, so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. I think that's helpful. I can also help you with bylaws or anything else that you need right now. I know it's a tough time, not a tough time, but you guys you're drinking from the fire hose right now, which I understand. So we can help you calm that down a little and get everything in place that you need to get in place.
Okay, so we'll go around the room and let everybody that's here introduce themselves, so you know who you're talking to.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Ann Schneider. I'm the Community Planning and Development Director for Lake County.
Hi.
Hi, Kendra. My name is Tim Bergman. I'm the Lake County Manager.
Hi, Kendra. My name is Sarah Mudge. I'm a county commissioner.
Oh, hi. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up with the camera here.
Kendra, my name is Tim Hill. I'm the Leadville City Council member.
My name's Christian Luna, also a city council member for Leadville.
Hi there, I'm Chapin. I'm Ann's counterpart at the city of Leadville. I'm the planning director for the city of Leadville.
Okay, so let's open up. Does anybody have questions for Kendra?
Don't be shy. No, I'm just kidding. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. I can also, I provided my resume before, but I can do that again or, help you out however you need.
So Kendra, we talked about on the phone that, our immediate need, I think, is the bylaws, the community guidelines, the employment agreement. Can you advise us on how quickly that might go, like how long it might take with what I've sent you and how much it might, and I don't even know if that's an appropriate question to ask.
Yeah.
How much it might cost.
Capacity.
Yes.
Turnaround.
Yeah, because, we've worked so hard to get to this point and now we're sort of at, a standing point, and it would be lovely to knock some of these things out of the way.
Sure. So we've already, as I think I told you, Jackie, we've already worked on your bylaws a bit. So they should be ready to go. Well, a draft should be ready to send you back. I would say even this week. Really what we need is an engagement agreement so that we can make sure that we're, working for you. And, once that happens, we're ready to go. So the bylaws are not a problem. As I said, we have other templates that we can use for other items that you need. So I would say, I think if you talk to anyone we represent, maybe that's the best way to say this. If you talk to other authorities or communities that we represent, they can tell you about our sort of the way we bill. It's not very much. We have to bill for our time, but it's not going to be out of control. So, I can't really give you estimates until I really know what I'm getting into. Because you've said bylaws, I get that. Those are almost done. And that was a couple hours of work. Beyond that, I guess I would need to know what else we're looking at. And then I'm happy to give you estimates, but capacity, we have the capacity. Again, we're already almost finished with the bylaws and we don't even have an engagement agreement yet. So, we're happy to get those to you as soon as we have that agreement, and we have the capacity and we're happy to help.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
Are you based down in Chafee, or where's your firm?
No, we're in Denver. So everything would need to be remote. I guess that's a good question, and I should have clarified that. We're in Denver, but we do represent a lot of entities that are not in Denver. We're obviously willing to come up there as much as we need, but I mean, right now it seems like remote is a good option for everyone. It saves everyone some time and money. So if you need me to be there, I'm happy to be there. But you know, right now most of what I'm doing is remote.
And Kendra, we haven't set our next meeting, but I know that you had some other obligations. Can you tell me what those are so that we can consider that when we're figuring out?
Of course. Sure. Mondays and Tuesdays are both pretty full for me. So I have meetings the 2nd and 4th Monday, the 2nd and 4th Tuesday, and the 1st and 3rd Tuesday. So I can occasionally, like right now, I can fill in on a first Monday. That works. But if you at all wanted to meet on Wednesday and Thursday, those are wide open. So for some reason, everybody moved their meetings to Monday and Tuesday. So I mean, again, if we're talking in the evening, during the day, I have much more availability, but I believe that if we're talking about evening meetings, that's a little more limited for me.
And I appreciate your time. Do we have any other questions for Kendra?
No, thank you.
Well, thank you. And again, if something comes up after this, I know this is difficult. I mean, I'm happy to answer questions via email, or if you want to give me a call, anything. I know this is sometimes an sort of awkward time to ask questions, but I'm happy to answer them offline if that's more helpful.
Okay. And Kendra, can you possibly send me references that maybe Housing Authority references so we could reach out? Would that be?
Of course. Yep. I'm happy to.
Awesome.
I will
Awesome.
definitely do that.
And we very much appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay. Well, thank you. Hopefully I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the waiting room is not enabled, and that's what I was trying to do. Really quickly.
There, I got it. The administrative provisions. No, I mean, there's the terms of office, but it also says compensation of directors. Directors shall receive.
That's what I did.
But I'm sure there is the term of office. But it also, it says the at-large shall serve as 2, 3, or 4 years as determined by the appointed board.
It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's been, but I know it's.
We appointed him as a 3-year. But.
So we'll have to have something.
So we're waiting for the next, we're running a little bit early. We're waiting for the next attorney to join us. So we're gonna take a 3 to 4 minute break. Or something like that.
Is Kendra from Hoffman, Tucker, and
Yes. This is confusing in the packet because everybody is in there twice.
Oh, sorry about that.
oh yeah, sorry. Okay. Where's Wilson Williams from?
Denver.
So so she's the Salida city attorney.
Oh, okay.
But their firm is in Denver, correct?
She's got a letter of agreement in here too.
Just to point out, third. Upper Waldeck, Chris McCann, they are based in Grand Junction.
He was recommended by Michael Kerrigan. And the first two were recommended by Becky from Chaffey County. So she uses, she indicated that she uses Nina that Nina's very generous. Nina's going to be the next person calling in, is very generous with her time, and she's joining us now. Hi, Nina. Oh, we can't hear you.
How is
There. Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us. So if we can, we'll start with introductions on our part here, so you know who you're talking to.
Yeah, great.
So, Christy, you were on the other side of the computer last time.
Hi, my name is Christy Galarza. I'm a community organizer for housing.
Nina, I'm Jackie. I've been the one talking to you. And then next to me is Ann Schneider.
Hi, I'm Ann Schneider. I'm the Lake County Community Planning and Development Director.
Nice meeting you.
Jim Bergman, I'm the Lake County Manager.
Nice meeting you.
Hi, Nina. My name is Sarah Mudge. I'm a Lake County Commissioner.
Nice meeting you.
My name is Tim Hill. I'm a Leadville City Council member.
Hi.
My name is Christian Luna. I am a Leadville City Council member as well.
I mean, I'm Chapin LaChance. I'm the planning director for the city of Leadville.
Nice meeting you.
So Nina, if you can tell us a little bit about you, we'll start there.
Okay, great. Yes. Nice meeting everyone virtually. My name is Nina. Our law firm is a team of 4 and we're growing. I'll give you a little bit of my experience and then see if anyone has any questions. I helped found and create the Chafee Multi-Jurisdictional Housing Authority, worked a lot on that. I'm the Salida City Attorney, so for the past many years, I've been drafting their inclusionary housing ordinance. That was one of the first of its kind in the state. And then the deed restrictions required with that. And also worked with the Chafee Housing Trust for guidelines and the contracts and also dealing with the state for all their requirements. My legal experience, I have about 17 years representing developers and local governments and working on affordable housing projects as well. I teach an annual master's and graduate course on affordable housing with the best the future city managers and county managers. That's with CU Denver. And I've also been hired to conduct affordable housing. Mostly I represent local governments, but as their general main city, town, county attorney, and our firm does as well. But I've also been hired to conduct affordable housing audits of land use codes, including Summit County, which I'm in the middle of working on. And I understand from Jackie, the first steps, certain first steps she had spoken about. And I know that we'll have no problem working with that. And especially for the startup steps and documents that you need and, within the DOLA grant that you received. So anyway, I'm available for questions. I don't know. I don't want to get too wordy. No one wants to hear from a lawyer that long.
So one of the questions that I have is our first steps. What do you think we're looking at? In terms of what do we need to do right now?
Well, first I want to make sure cover everything that you and I have spoken about, looking at the bylaws, guidelines, making sure the agreements are good and IGAs are in place, the administrative agreements, clarifying the employment arrangement for you and any others. Then make sure the structure, I know you already have an IGA setting up, but make sure there's not anything that's that we see that we could recommend, maybe tweaking or adding to that. My law partner is Jeff Wilson. He worked for the Colorado Municipal League as general counsel for about 30 years, and he's an expert in tax. And I saw that you had some specifications regarding tax questions, so we would loop him in for that part. So basically reviewing everything you have sent, and then you sent a lot of the best, I think, it's kind of like Gunnison, Summit County, those kind of documents that we all kind of use as best documents, and just the experience, making sure we looking at everything you have in place and seeing if you need anything in addition or just tweaking that sort of thing. And those foundation is most important. Make sure you have everything in place as best as you can, so you could operate and start doing what's important for the, why you created this housing authority.
What's your time frame on that?
Well, I was just gonna ask you all, like, what your time frame. I am off this week, but I would say a couple weeks to a month to make sure everything is, in place would be realistic.
Our time frame was yesterday.
I thought so. Okay, yeah. I mean, I did start actually looking through a lot that Jackie had sent, and then
I know we were, going back and forth, and then she's like, well, they're meeting anyway in October, there, let's speak. So I am otherwise off this week, but I would say, as short as I could, a couple weeks to finalize and get back.
Another question for you, Nina, if I may. I noticed you have a lot of price points, different types of attorneys, paralegals, partners, etc. What do you imagine the lion's share of the work, what price point is that going to fall under?
Probably myself, just because the efficiency, which is the partner level, but again, it says that efficiency to look over everything. I definitely don't have a problem with assisting with all the steps under the grant you received, and probably I'm not going to try to meet it, but I don't have an issue staying within that. So I think it would mostly be myself for this, just because of my experience, kind of being able to quickly look for things that I know I'm looking for, and that sort of thing. And then if necessary, bring in, well, if there's any tax questions, it would be very brief, same Jeff Wilson, same level. And then we have a junior associate who has real estate experience. And I keep an eye on, don't bill you for more than you should, but if there's any things that I think could be done at a lower rate, we do that. But again, just from my experience, I work at a quicker, more efficient pace, just from looking over everything. So probably mostly that partner level. And we don't have any paralegals right now, but that's just my contract to kind of see as we grow, have the same standard.
Any other questions? Nina, would you be willing to provide us with some housing authority references that we can reach out to? I know Becky, but if there's anybody else.
Okay, sure, yes.
Okay, that sounds great. I certainly appreciate your time. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Not right now. I'd love to have this opportunity to work with you all, and you'll let me know.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Nina. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
You guys ready for the next person?
Let's see what it does.
Yep.
Magic.
Here they come.
Chris, are you with us?
Yes, I am. I have been listening.
No, not you, Chris, the other Chris.
Which other Chris?
The Chris from the law firm here.
Is that not him? There he is. Yes, standing by. So is that not him?
There's someone on the Zoom that your name is CGM. Is that the other attorney that we were hoping to speak to? Chris, hello. Can you unmute yourself so?
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, Chris. Sorry, we had a confusion because the county attorney is also online and her name is also Chris. So thank you for
Okay.
joining us. So
No worries.
I'm going to have us introduce ourselves to you. We're going to start with Christy Galarza.
Hi, my name is Christy Galarza. I work for Lake County Builder Generation, and I am a community organizer around housing.
Chris, you and I spoke. My name is Jackie Willihan. I am the housing director.
Hi, I'm Ann Schneider. I'm from Community Planning and Development for Lake County.
I'm Tim Bergman. I'm the Lake County Manager.
Hi, Chris Sarah Mudge, Lake County Commissioner.
My name is Tim Hill. I'm a Leadville City Council member.
My name is Christian Luna, and I am also a Leadville City Council member.
Hi, Chris. I'm Chapin LaShawn. I'm the planning director for the city of Leadville.
Chris, can you introduce yourself to everyone and tell us a little bit about your experience with housing authorities?
Oh, sure. Hello, everyone. Chris McEnany. I'm a partner with Dufford Waldeck in Grand Junction. Our firm is a full service law firm on the Western Slope. we have a general civil practice, and we represent a lot of local governmental entities, including several housing authorities. Notably among those would be Grand Junction Housing Authority, the Garfield County Housing Authority, and the Gunnison Valley Regional Housing Authority, among those. We've got 2 offices, one in Grand Junction, the other in Montrose. We're about 16 lawyers. We focus a lot on land development, zoning, land use, and just by extension of that, have represented a number of clients that are involved in affordable housing development, as well as representing public entities and housing authorities in the development of affordable housing. My background has included things like drafting ordinances, dealing with deed restricted affordable housing, acquiring properties for redevelopment, including mobile home parks and other parcels for affordable housing, workforce housing, and the like. So our firm is fairly broadly versed. We are used to working with public entities and dealing with advising on the hoops that you have to jump through as a public entity in terms of your compliance with all of the state laws governing open meetings, contracting, procurement, the range of things that you need to be aware of as a governmental subdivision. But we're happy to help. I have a little bit of familiarity with Lake County and have been up that way many times, and certainly recognize that you guys have needs given your proximity to Summit County, where it seems like all the jobs are and you're where the housing is. So I'm glad to answer questions or give you, I can point to specific things if that would help, or whatever you'd like to talk about to get acquainted. I don't have anything specific to present here.
Okay. So in terms of setting up and providing counsel to a housing authority, I mean, you already kind of touched on, you've worked with some other housing authorities. What are some of our first steps?
Well, you've already got the intergovernmental agreement in place, which I've looked at briefly and establishes your existence. I do think you need to set up some bylaws that govern your day-to-day operations and governing your board meetings. And then beyond that, I think it's necessary that you have some specific direction that you give to staff as to priorities. You'll have to establish a budget, start looking at what your funding mechanisms are likely to be in the near term. Like I said, I haven't fully digested all of your, everything that's happened with the housing authority to date, but welcome the opportunity. I'm very much, as a lawyer, I like to be collaborative with my clients. I like to find out what their needs are. We, as a firm, will do as much or as little as you need of us. I mean, if you need us to be very heavily involved in terms of organizing your documents and your priorities and programs, we can help with that. If you want us to simply be available to consult as needed when questions arise, we can do that as well. And we have a lot of clients that it varies. If we have a big transaction that's coming up, an acquisition, a big property transaction, we may be very, very heavily involved in the documents and contracting phase. and less so in the administrative phase. And you know, that's a related area where I think that you'll need some help with in terms of drafting policies and documents for example, if you're going to have deed restricted housing, how you enforce those restrictions. And obviously there's no one mechanism that I think is going to be the solution to your affordable housing problems. It seems like you have to be entrepreneurial, as we say, willing to acquire properties where it's necessary, partner with developers in public-private partnerships. You know, there's just a whole range of things that you might want to implement, and I don't pretend to have all those answers, but I do have a pretty good idea of what tools you have in your toolbox, and we certainly would like to work with you to kind of develop some priorities and look at properties maybe that you're interested in managing or developing, or if you have already looked at deed restricted properties that, you know, working on trying to implement that and develop the documentation for those types of projects. So here I'm going on, but
Chris, I have a question for you.
Sure.
So obviously our priority is right now is to get our foundation under us, develop the bylaws, etc. Do you anticipate most of that work being done at the partner level, and what time frame are you looking at to be able to get that foundation done for us?
Yeah, it depends on what your needs are. I mean, I assume that you want to get going in the next month or two, at least to have your basic governing documents in place. And yes, I would propose to do that at the partner level. I wouldn't presume to delegate that kind of work at the intake stage. I think whenever we have a new client relationship, I do think it's important that we, as leaders within our firm, develop that relationship up front rather than delegating tasks to other parties within our firm or other associates or other persons within the firm. So I would view that as a partner task. I could say we could get that done in the next 30 to 60 days, depending on what your needs are. I mean, I really don't have a sense of what kind of discussions you've already had, how far along you are on that. But those are just baseline documents in terms of how you conduct yourself. Should be pretty straightforward.
Anybody else? Okay, Chris, I sure appreciate your time. As a final closing ask, could I ask you to send us some referrals from housing authority clients that you work with?
Oh yeah, we're glad to. We could be happy to send you some references, and yeah, if I wasn't exactly clear, is the authority? Are you talking to a bunch of different people and trying to narrow down your decision making, or where do you guys stand at this point?
We're having a discussion tonight with 3 attorneys, and we'll hopefully try and make a decision. And we want to move forward very quickly. We've got the draft bylaws. I think I sent you a bunch of stuff.
You did.
And so I think we have a clear idea of where we want those to be, the elected officials and now the board representing those same thoughts. So I think the sooner the better on that stuff, because we are now just kind of in a holding pattern. We need to get some of that stuff ironed out, the bylaws and the guidelines in particular.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, yeah, be happy to provide you with some references, and please, if there are specific questions you have for us, glad to provide any supplemental information that we can. And thanks for your time.
Thank you. I sure appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Okay, so would you guys like to have a discussion about the three attorneys that we met tonight?
Sure, I would start that conversation. I think Chris, firm, whatever the firm's name is, they're definitely the most expensive.
Mhm.
Don't know that our budget would allow us for them to help us at that partner level. I don't know if our budget is a little prohibitive of that. Also, the fact that they're based in Grand Junction bothers me a little bit. In case anybody would have to come up here for any reason, it's going to cost quite a bit more money than someone based in Denver. Also, that drive includes Glenwood Canyon, which, as we all know, is subject to open and close at a whim. So I would probably eliminate them.
They also have the least mountain experience and closeness or experience with any other of the housing authorities or any other housing entities surrounding our area.
Also, his time frame seems a little 1 to 2 months. This doesn't really fit our time frame.
And they all received the same information from me. So some of them looked at it and some of them did not.
You've already been working with Kendra a little bit.
So I had the same conversation with all of them. I initially thought, so we have out of the planning grant, there's some money, there's $15,000 that we're hoping to get these things addressed with that money. I initially was going to have Kendra look at everything and work on the bylaws, which she's doing. And then because I really don't have the experience of the board, I thought, oh, wait, we better wait for this board meeting to make sure that you guys are on board with that. So I let her know that we had to stop and wait. So Becky Gray indicated that Nina was very free with her time and very helpful. If they had more complicated issues, they would use Kendra. Lori had met Nina in Salida and liked her very much. And then Chris, also, I think, Chris, I'll let you speak to your, what you discovered when you were looking to vet them.
Yeah, I'm happy to now or after everybody else has a chance to talk, whichever you prefer. Were you able to hear me?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
My only comment then would be that I would rather have I agree, cutting Chris out, there's no reason to pull down. But I think maybe having Kendra having like a more heavy hitter at first to ensure that our foundation is solid and done and right, so that future boards can go off of that. Might be more beneficial to us, and then as we work on the budget, maybe there is an opportunity to engage with Nina on the lower level things, or just sticking with the one firm.
And it sounded like to me that Kendra had a pretty good head start. No, at least the bylaws and the guidelines she's talking about next week. And also point out that they're the most cost effective. Would like to see maybe just a little bit more specificity on billing in the agreement. Did notice that Nina's firm guarantees their rates for 2 years. So maybe we could get that out of Kendra. Something like that. But other than that, I would be in favor of using Kendra.
Okay, Chris, go ahead.
Sure. And folks, I apologize for not having my video on. I'm having some internet capacity issues as always. But I did review the credentials of the three firms that were presented and sent Jackie and Tim my comments. I also reached out to some of my other colleagues for their recommendations in terms of other, the housing authority folks they had worked with or recommended and stuff. And frankly, I think all of them would be competent to represent the Leadville Lake County Regional Housing Authority, but my ranking kind of came down to agreeing with Mr. Hill about Kendra as being the top choice. And I think one of the reasons for that is in reviewing your credentials, it appears to me her experience is a little more directly aligned and with housing authority work. And also one of the things I look at with these firms too is what type of a bench that they have. So if you start out working with one attorney and for some reason they're not available, are you left waiting, or do they have other resources with similar, credentials, experience and stuff that can step in to help? And I felt that Kendra's firm had more of a bench, if you will, of additional resources that they could offer. And that, the other thing too, is she spoke about like having templates and already reviewing and already without even being engaged, working on your bylaws and that kind of stuff. That to me makes things very cost effective because they're not recreating the wheel every time. Or, and one of the things that you'll want to look at is even if they're not recreating the wheels, are they charging you as if they did? One of the ways I approach work is if I've done something before and I can use it to modify it for a client, I don't charge that client as if I created it from scratch. I charge them just for the time that I used in creating the documents. And it sounded to me that Kendra's kind of along that line as well. And the other thing too is, Councilmember Hill mentioned something about whether partners would be doing all the work and stuff like that. And one of the things too is their bench, it allows them, for example, to use those kind of templates to create initial documents using associates, perhaps lower level attorneys, and then with the partners perhaps reviewing them and such before they go, which also again makes it more cost effective. Plus, I love the fact that her bill rate was the lowest among the other attorneys, and for specialized services like this, I thought they were incredibly reasonable. Nina Williams, I thought had very substantial experience with municipalities and such, and very equivalent in terms of, I think, credentials and competencies with Kendra. The only concern I had there was that their firm, as she mentioned several times, they're growing. They only have 4 attorneys right now. She mentioned several clients that they have in this area, but we don't know how many clients they have overall and how thinly stretched they may be. So that was perhaps the only reason why I ranked her as second. The third firm, Chris's firm, the name I was originally given was Barbara Butler, which is one of his partners. Their firm kind of reminds me of mine in a way, in that it's a more of a general practice with some focus on local government work and stuff. That's how Rocky Mountain General Counsel has operated all along. The concern I have with that is, as Chris even mentioned, they represent not only the government side, but they represent the developer side and such like that, which sometimes can be good, but then sometimes can kind of pull you different directions. And speaking from experience, mixing private practice with government clients is very challenging. Because in terms of juggling client expectations on both sides, it can be somewhat of a challenge. So, and also at the bottom line too, their bill rates, I thought, agree with Councilmember Hill that they're a little too high for what I think our local housing authority is ready to bear right now. So that was kind of my takedown on the different ones. I'm happy to answer any questions y'all may have.
Thank you, Chris.
Sure.
I think we have our.
Okay. All right, so the next point of discussion, Reed.
Should we formal motion that
Okay.
actually started
Yeah.
at the beginning of the meeting too for appointment?
Can we have a vote for a motion for the, see, I don't know.
I'll move to points. Angel Honda Gutierrez, Claire Wilson, and Francisco Clark as our community members at large to our Leadville and Regional Housing Authority.
And seconds.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And to appoint Hoffman, Parker, Wilson, and Carberry, PC as our legal representation. On the Leadville and
Bill second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
No.
Hey, Chris, on who, as we move forward with the letter of engagement for legal counsel, do we? Regional Housing Authority isn't really anything yet. Does that need to be through the county to then be transferred to the Regional Housing Authority at a later date?
No, they should be directly engaged by the housing authority. And so my suggestion would be, I know that, let's see here, Kendra's firm did submit an sample engagement letter that's essentially addressed to Jackie for the housing authority. And so one of the things too is you know, if there are other details that y'all would like to have in here, more specificity, there's absolutely nothing wrong with Jackie going back to them and saying, thank you for your draft letter, but can you provide us with an updated one with this additional information or something in it? But otherwise, I think it should be, they should be engaged through the housing authority.
So
For Jackie to go through, yeah, and maybe do we want Chris to review that? Has she reviewed the engagement already? Or are there other things besides the, considering the committed, rate for a number of years that we want to?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm happy to do that. I'm also happy to provide Jackie with a template professional services agreement like we use for the county if you want, in order that you could, you know, further flesh out terms if you like.
that would be great. So my question and my confusion going forward is we want her to do things immediately. However, we don't have a bank account or any ability to pay her unless it comes from the county.
Do we have the payment through the grant though?
The county
That would
has
be
that money.
Would that be the initial funds that we use and exhaust first? And Michael put his face on the screen. Michael.
Yeah, I wanted to remind you that, so as part of the DOLA grant, we had 15,000 reserved, and that was originally earmarked towards looking at the disposition of public property. But since we went down the route of a regional housing authority, it saved us from having to do that work and getting through the legal piece of that. So that money is what we have kind of looked towards to trying to do the bylaws and getting this across the finish line. I think that is kind of the bill through DOLA, and the reporting has to kind of go through the portal, Chris. And so I think there's just this nuance of how that bill is paid and reported back to DOLA.
Okay. So perhaps, I mean, one of the things we could do, I know I prepared the employee loan lease lending agreement, if you will, for Jackie. But one of the things we could also do is an administrative agreement between the county and the housing authority for other types of services, which could include processing this if the county, and maybe I'm just not remembering clearly, is the county administering the grant through Jackie? Is that how it's working? Okay. So we could do it that way if you want. The housing authority would still, and just for clear lines of representation, the reason the housing authority needs to engage the attorney is because the attorney will be representing the housing authority, which is a separate entity from the county. And that's why they need to be engaged that way. But if we need to process payments and stuff for those services, we can certainly do an administrative agreement to provide for that.
And Chris, what I would maybe even suggest is that I think by the end of the year, this should all be taken care of with the bylaws being created, et cetera. So it could be something that the city or the county does administratively till the end of the year.
Yeah, and that's it. We can put provisions in the administrative agreement, in terms of the time frame that it'll run through the end of the year and then can be extended if needed by agreement of the parties.
Sounds great.
All right, Jackie, I'll work on a draft of that.
Great, thank you.
And I promise to get it to you quicker than I did the last stuff.
Thank you.
No, it can't hurt. I don't think it can hurt. I think, why don't we, yeah, sure. I'll entertain a motion to direct housing authority staff to engage with county legal counsel. Oh, is that,
I was thinking for that one, so she can actually engage with Kendra. And they'll be selected there, but we just have to work on it. Does that matter?
I was thinking we'd direct you to engage with county legal counsel for arranging the administration and getting engaged. What do you, I don't know. You propose a motion then.
I don't even know if we need one.
We don't even have bylaws necessarily need.
I think like having it on the record that you were giving her direction to execute this
Yeah.
is like a CYA thing for Jackie.
Yeah.
Well, and then do we want also for me to try and negotiate with her the 2-year guarantee of no rate increases prior to signing this? Or are we comfortable signing it as it is?
I think we need, because both of the other lawyers did specify about rates and how long they were good for. Nina's firm was good for 2 years. Chris's firm indicated that they could change their rates, but with a 30-day notice. So I think we need something to guarantee a rate for some amount of time.
Okay.
It certainly doesn't hurt to ask.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am composing an email now. Can you guarantee your rates for, should I say, 2 years or a certain amount of time? Or how would you like that worded?
I would maybe say like, one thing my board has asked for consideration is if we could have a 2-year guarantee of rates.
Perfect.
And then she can come back and be like, I can do it again. Whatever. So,
Yeah, Jackie, if you reach out to them on that, definitely ask if they can provide an updated engagement letter to reflect those terms and such.
And as far as, negotiating anything else, I think I'm good with everything else. Would like some sort of guarantee of their rates. Because right now it's $2.15 per hour, but tomorrow it could be something different according to this.
You guys references also.
Okay.
Yes, their engagement, yes.
So for her direction, do you need her to check references before she executes that contract?
I guess that would be the smart thing to do. But I don't know if we necessarily need it before. I feel like that'd be pretty time consuming waiting for emails, backs and forths. I think it's a good thing to do anyways. I imagine this engagement should clear it up though.
Check with one reference, right, Becky?
Mhm.
Chapin?
Yeah,
Maybe check with one more.
yeah. That'll be, I mean, Chris will get you. Yeah. you'll
Okay. Is everybody comfortable with all that? Okay.
have-
I've invited you. Do we know if he's not on yet?
You had originally asked him to come on at 7.
Yeah. So we were 10 minutes away. Would anyone like to take a 10-minute break?
Is there other?
Sure. We can talk about letters of support. So I received a letter from someone who is interested in having me sign a letter of support as they were doing an application for, I think, a historical preservation. I was uncomfortable signing anything until we had this first board meeting and to have a discussion with all of you to find out how you would like things like that to be handled. If you want to have it presented at a board meeting and then give me direction, or what your thoughts are. Oh. Well, we can jump back to that in a minute. Let me know. Hi, Reed. Thank you for joining us. I'm not quite there yet either. Hi, Reed. Thank you for joining us.
Reed, can you hear us? If you can hear us, you're still on mute and we can't hear you.
Okay.
Does anyone know what the library?
There was
There should
one
be a
that
free
didn't
one.
need a
It's the
password.
free library one.
Oh, I don't know. There's a free one.
Yeah, thank you. Can't remember the. That's what we did on, but.
We are running on the free one right now, so it's pretty good.
Okay, maybe continue this conversation while we're trying to get him on.
Okay.
Oh, never mind.
Hey, we're ready for you.
Mm. Okay.
Jack, you did a great job presenting at the conference.
Oh,
You
yeah.
you represented us well.
You're very sweet.
Good
Thank
job.
you.
Yeah.
She did an amazing
That was
job.
a very big audience and you did a great job.
Yeah.
I very much appreciate you saying that.
So you're having technical difficulties.
It's coming in just like a minute. It's about ready.
What, was it $1 million performance?
It was.
It was definitely, well, they did say if she passed out on the stage, the money was first.
I tried really hard. It might still happen. I think that I think I've got a window.
No.
So Dola asked us to present at the American Planning Association Convention to highlight all the work that's been done. And so it was a huge honor to highlight all of the work that you all have done. So
So that sounds like good news.
it was,
It's like goodness.
yeah, I think it's probably good news. But as we talked about, $93 million.
They didn't ask any of my other clients to present. We put it that way. So Jackie's very special.
Well, we all know that. My meetings will get a little tighter as we get going.
Great first meeting.
Christy, will you explain to them the facilitation training that I'm going to be having
Yeah.
coming up in October?
So all BAG facilitators go to a training in Denver where you get to like train with people from all over the country on how to run meetings and create space for everybody and work on your public speaking and presence and all that stuff. So Jackie gets to go to that here pretty soon.
The mountain, the community council or something.
Essential Facilitation is the name of the organization.
Is it
It's a
day long?
nationwide
Okay.
thing. Technical term.
All right, Reed is with us. So Reed, in the room, you have Christy, myself, Ann Schneider, Tim Bergman, Sarah Mudge, Tim Hill, Christian Luna Leal, and our newest and greatest Leadville planner, Chapin. So can you please go ahead with whatever you would like to enlighten us on?
Sure, and thank you for your patience. I didn't realize you guys were going early there. So if I can explain what we're doing and then explain the timing, greatly appreciated. So one of the ways that we can do property tax abatement on affordable housing projects is to have the housing authority be a part owner of the project. And that by statute alleviates the tax burden off that property. And so the structure that's been used in other places, namely in the Front Range, is that they've awarded a 0.01% ownership interest to the local housing authority. The nonprofit has retained 99.9% ownership interest, and so has full control, but that allows for that top property tax abatement to happen. So to do that, we have to do a couple things. First of all, create the special purpose entity that is a partnership between the two organizations and stating those ownership interest percentages. And then when we take title to the Lura parcel, it'll be deeded over to that special purpose entity. And then with that, the taxes are taken care of. So what we did is we first provided Jackie with a document that is more of a policy document for you all to use. And it helps you look at whatever opportunities may come in front of you that are similar to this to say, okay, is this a worthwhile project? Does it meet our criteria? It has some suggested criteria in there, and then you can decide if you want to tweak that. But it's a way to evaluate each and every project that comes before you, whether or not it's worthy of being put into a special purpose entity. The second part, the actual entity itself and the language that creates it, is still being worked on by our attorney, so I don't have that to share with you tonight. But what we did do today was apply to the Division of Housing for $600,000 to support the construction of the rail yard project. And so at some point, they're going to expect us to show site control, which means that we have title to the land. I don't know how soon they expect that. I don't know if that's going to hold up the process. Typically, they take a month to do all the internal reviews, and then they go to the State Housing Board. So in theory, by mid-November, we should be getting to the State Housing Board. It might be that they don't need site control quite yet, but they'll make decisions based on pending site control. Or it might be that they say you have to have site control before we go to the State Housing Board. And I just don't know the answer to that. So in an ideal world, when the Housing Authority Board is fully constituted and ready to make decisions, I would love it if you could consider that draft policy offering on how to discern whether or not a project is worthy of being put in a special purpose entity. And then as soon as our attorney has the language for the special purpose entity itself, if you could approve both of those, including entering into that special purpose entity specific to the Lura parcel, if we could do that at your next meeting, which I'm assuming is going to be somewhere around November 3rd or somewhere near that date. Jackie, do you know when that next meeting is?
Do not, we will have that discussion.
Okay. So whenever that next meeting is, if that could be on your docket, and in the meantime, I will get the documents to Jackie so that you guys have plenty of time to look them over. And if you need to have your attorney look at them, in an ideal world, they would also have a chance to look at them prior to that meeting. If we, for some reason, have to delay until the December meeting, I just don't know what the Division of Housing is going to say about that. If need be, we could also push this through the Leadville Housing Authority. It's not specific on to which housing authority enters into the partnership. But, ideally, since you're a newly formed body and you're the regional housing authority, I'd love to do this partnership with you all. So that in a nutshell is what we need from you. And that is the timing with the question mark of, I don't know exactly when we definitively need to have this executed, but I would say it needs to be done sooner than later.
And is everyone familiar with like the details of the Lura parcel? I think you guys are pretty well.
Reed, could you talk just like a little bit more about the special purpose entity and then what would the obligations of the regional housing authority be?
So the language that we're putting into the agreement specifies that you are a partner to the agreement. You're not responsible for any of the reporting or filings or whatever is required of it. We take full responsibility for all of that. So really you are I would say in name only, a partner to it, and otherwise would not be responsible for doing anything. I imagine that it would be something that you would share with your bookkeeper, just so that it is appropriately booked on your balance sheet as an asset, but it's a very small one. So you should have no obligations, no paperwork or anything that you need to file, other than we might ask for a signature, depending on what we need to file either annually or whatever reporting requirements we have specific to that entity.
Any other questions for me?
Can I ask one quick one?
Yes, please.
Sure.
Reed, is the intention, just for clarity, is the intention that once the houses are sold, that the partnership would go away? It's just for the development, the tax abatements for the development, or do you have that carrying on into the new property owners?
Well, we're entitled to the property, so the special purpose entity never goes away. We keep that, the ownership stays in place. I don't know how the assessor will treat that property and what kind of taxes would be owed on it, but it alleviates us from any tax burden on the property itself. The condominium so the condominium homeowners will pay their property taxes per the value of their units.
Okay, so I think that's an important thing for the group to realize, is that that you as an entity, as a development, are not paying the taxes, but the school, like for instance, school districts, et cetera, realize the tax benefits from the future owners because they're not public nonprofit entities. So
Exactly.
Thanks for clarifying.
Because these are condominiums, they will be individually owned and those owners will pay taxes.
And the only reason I bring that up to the group is that if you see a rental project that asks for a similar, that actually stays, that tax benefit tends to carry on. Whereas in a for sale model like Reed is developing, that changes over. So I just wanted to add that clarification because I think you could see this proposal in either a for sale model or a rental capacity.
specifically speaking, will the footprint of the units be like, will the CHGO own the entirety of the land? Reed?
Exactly. We retain title to all of the land, and this is a condominium arrangement or legal structure. So people own their airspace. They do not own the land. But we have a ground lease with the Condominium Owners Association to have their buildings on our land.
So under this, the land will be tax exempt, but the individual units will be taxable.
Exactly.
So there's not really any like risk to the housing authority in doing this partnership.
Not that I know of or can imagine. And we would, of course, maintain general liability insurance on the property and other things. So the exposure is all on us.
Okay.
Anybody else?
No, other than I'd be happy to add this to, once you are formally engaged with Kendra, add like that process to our next agenda to consider the actual agreement.
And then we need to wait till the board is fully seated, or do we not need to wait for the board to be fully seated?
I imagine we should probably wait for the board to be seated, though I don't know if that would make much of a difference in the outcome. It makes sense for me.
Well, we are seated now. They
To be
just need to
present,
join us.
yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I would assume
Like, we
everybody
have-
would be at the-
If we have quorum and we could make the choice. But I feel like it would make sense to wait for them to be there.
All right, Reed, anything else you'd like to add?
So just to be clear then, Jackie, I will get you, I've already sent you the document that is the policy document for your eternal use. So it seems like you could share that with board members anytime. As soon as I get the actual agreement, I will get that to you, and I would appreciate it if you could share that. Do you have an attorney on board?
As of a few minutes ago, we think so.
Okay. Well, great. Then your attorney could, of course, weigh in on it, and hopefully it would be a pretty quick process at the next meeting if we can clear all those barriers. But it would be great for me to inform the Division of Housing when they ask the obvious question, when this will happen. And so I'm going to say the first week of November at your next meeting, and we should be able to then get the transfer executed within a week.
Sounds good.
Well, excellent. I really appreciate you all's consideration and willingness to do a partnership on this. It definitely helps us provide affordable housing by saving that small increment of tax dollars. So thank you.
Thank you, Reed.
Thanks, Reed.
Okay, so going back to, or do you want to make a motion for that, or are we doing that?
I don't think we need to.
I think we just, I think if you would include that in,
Or upcoming agenda?
a request for Kendra to review and bring us a proposal. That would be great.
Letters of support, how would you like that handled? Would you like that to be brought to you for a board meeting and then you give me direction?
So what is this?
So the folks that own the Chinese restaurant were pursuing, and I told her I was not comfortable signing anything until we had.
Is this from Eileen?
Our first.
I'm attending. And she's
So-
looking for a grant. The powers that be for historic preservation.
And like, I think the advocates of Lake County would have loved if you guys had already been seated to have a letter of support for the regional housing authority. I think it is something that will come up fairly frequently. So having some direction for Jackie on how you guys want that handled is probably a good idea.
I think it'd be a good idea for us to review. There's a second one.
That was,
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
they submitted their grant, so. But I'm sure they would probably, like that going forward.
There will be more grants for homelessness.
So, anyway. I just wanted direction on it because I was uncomfortable with people asking me and
I think it makes sense to have the board review it at a regularly scheduled board meeting for consideration.
I think sometimes it doesn't, it happens a lot faster, and the discretion that I use is if it's like, I think these are two great examples, if it's one that's of no consequence to the housing authority, not asking for any funding or commitment, just a general like overall community kind of goal and encouragement. I might suggest Jackie reach out to whoever becomes the chair or the president to make sure that she's reading that letter in that way and send it out via email, and we all can look and review and say, yes, great, please send a letter of support. If it's something where there's like just making sure it's not competing funds, which it's not, and like a little more in depth, then maybe she still does the same thing, but all of us can say, well, actually, we need to take a vote on. Do we, I can't remember what our voting requirements, or maybe that's something to include in bylaws, voting on certain level of things.
I think the only voting related thing that we have is a supermajority rule where county, city has to be on board for a vote on,
a ballot measure.
on a ballot measure, and has to be a supermajority. I think that's the only voting related thing, at least that I saw in the bylaws.
Okay. Or the
So,
IG.
or in the IGN, so we would need something in the bylaws.
I think as we develop them too, yeah, the Commissioner Mudge suggested having the chair, the president having that discretion on working with staff or to get those, or having some set of like procedure set for you, like I think the one for your building is fine. Then there are other ones where it was like the homelessness grant's a perfect example where we could have been like a much bigger partner, right? Louder voice than some of the others, but I'm just echoing, going up in space.
Okay, so, and then my other question for you, and I didn't put it on here, was we're gonna discuss officers at the next meeting when we're fully seated. Is there anything else we need to do to prepare for that in terms of anything I need to do as to, you know, setting up a bank account, or am I waiting for setting up a nonprofit?
You can start. I think we could. On the board, I think we could have her start with the bank account.
Please move on.
Yeah.
We can get it before the next meeting, the better.
Okay,
I'm also in favor. I think we've had already not great experiences with setting up bank accounts at the Laurel area, so the sooner the better.
I just wanted to circle back to the letter of support thing. I think that, because I don't think we can formalize. Are we okay with Jackie conferring with the chair as to what level a letter of support, and then asking the board via an email, can I write this? And or at the very least say, if you drafted something, do we support you doing it, and also review your letter of support? So we could add to it and or say, well, I think you kind of like watch your language here or whatever. I would be comfortable with that. And we can develop it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm comfortable with it, but I think we should continue the discussions once we do have a fully present board. In case there's something we're overlooking where the board members have. Also probably should go in bylaws, so I imagine it's gonna have to go to some sort of. I don't know if it's gonna have to be a discussion, but some sort of formal recognition that that's something that has to exist. And then giving the authority to Jackie to give that to the lawyers if that's before they meet with us or whatever. So I think I think I'm okay with it for the time being, if anything comes up. And we should continue the conversation.
All right, now we're gonna turn it over to Michael, who's going to.
Did they?
Oh,
How do you feel?
I mean, I'm good with it. I think, you know, some review, at least via email, needs to be conducted. And yeah, just an okay from the president is fine with me. But like, we should all have a chance to be able to look at it.
Yeah.
sounds good.
And did the one still need one? Or did that?
No, I reached out to her and I said I'm not comfortable signing anything until we had a conversation, so.
Did she send a draft letter?
Mhm.
You sent it
I
to her?
will send it
Okay, all right.
to all of you. I have it somewhere in my pile of papers here, but I'll send it to all of you.
Or is like one member willing to work with her on that to get a draft for you guys to consider?
And I-
If there's not currently a chair.
And I'll reach out to her again to see if it would be beneficial to her at this point.
I have a copy of your,
Yeah, here it is.
something that has intended,
Okay.
and that is seasonal. That ward.
If you need help, I'll help along. If it's still a thing.
Yeah, let me reach out and find out if it's something she can benefit from.
I can email her. Pretty easily.
Okay,
I'll reach out to her and see if she's even still needed or can
Okay.
use one.
okay.
Do
Sounds
that
good.
tomorrow.
Thank you. All right, do you need to make any motions on any of that? Okay, all right, so moving right ahead, Michael.
Wait. You did the motion. For the bank account.
Oh, right.
Where are you going to open a bank? You care?
I have opinions, but I'm just gonna sit quietly.
Oh, no, please. share.
I do.
At your discretion, how does everyone feel about? Okay,
Are you using local bank?
Yeah, I like Global Bank and Trust. Do you guys like Global Bank and Trust?
That's where I bank.
Okay,
I've been banking there since it was a shack on the sidewalk.
that was my thought. Okay, now it's your turn, Michael.
we still have to do motion. Vote on it.
Be quiet, Michael.
Okay, so is the final housing report the agenda item we're looking at, or?
Yeah,
we're not ready
yeah,
for
we're
you
not
yet.
ready for you. You have to hush.
Just a minute, Michael.
No problem.
Moves for the Regional Housing Authority to direct Jackie to open a bank account on behalf of the Regional Housing Authority at Pueblo Bank and Trust.
And then the seconds.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Ooh.
I used to work at Pueblo Bank and Trust. And when you open accounts, they're gonna need they're gonna need your bylaws first, so
Yeah.
you won't be able to open this until you have the bylaws, and then you'll have to register with the Secretary of State. And I can help you with that.
And then at our list, maybe you'll have to have like a co-signer too, probably, right? Two signers and.
Yeah, I just know we hit some glitches trying to open the rule, so.
Yeah.
Want to make sure what's required.
Yeah, but you
Okay,
could reach out to
yeah.
Mary and she could give you the checklist of what.
Chris, as your number.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, along that line, I was going to suggest that maybe Jackie talk to Mary Schroeder at PB&T and see if they'd be willing to accept an organizational consent since the bylaws haven't been adopted yet. Just to see if that's something that they would accept in order to go in and set up the bank account, so you don't have that additional delay.
Excellent.
At least let Mary know that we're coming
Yes. All right, thank you. Okay, Michael.
So yeah, the plan on the DOLA grant for the planning piece of this is that was originally that we were going to wrap up in November. And so I am on the city council agenda to present a final report the first week of November. And then I will look to the BOCC at the same time. Originally the idea, well, the city and county are the grant recipients. So moving forward, any additional planning work or things that you guys would need, you would want to probably go out to RFQ and see who else would be interested. In the DOLA grant that we have submitted for the infrastructure, we did put in some additional planning assistance for the development of RFQ, for requesting developers, et cetera. So there is money baked into that if you are awarded that grant, for you guys to go out and look again for external planning help. So I'm really excited about seeing things progress and how the county goes into housing. So that is really where we stand. The only thing that I would just make sure before I sign off officially is that the one big thing about that grant is that you're going to need to do a geotech report and do some soil studies on those different sites to ensure that they're buildable and that you don't have any major soil issues that would prohibit housing before you install infrastructure. So that soil analysis is probably a $10,000 to $20,000 budget item. I would suggest getting on post haste if you guys are selected on the DOLA grant. That way, you're going to need to know that information before you really get into engineering. So that is not really included in the DOLA grant. It could be under the planning and engineering piece of it, but just given the time frame and trying to get things going, I just wanted to call attention to that. And then I guess the final thing that's on the other agenda items is if you're selected, this is probably something that you could add to your legal agreement, is that to do the development of the parcel that the school district retains ownership, at some point, there would need to be a formal request from the Regional Housing Authority at a school board meeting and probably some type of agreement drafted up on the use of their property for housing. Once those DOLA funds extend infrastructure there's an obligation to do ownership of 140% AMI or less, or rentals of 80% AMI or less, if state funds are used to develop that property. So those are my final items. And thank you guys so much. I'm very excited about the progress everyone, especially the council and the BOCC made in a matter of 4 months to get this done. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay, so to sum up, our next steps are I'm going to reach out to Mary to talk about what she needs to get started with that. I will also reach out to an accountant to figure out how to set up a nonprofit, if that's acceptable with all of you. Then I'm also reaching out to Kendra, which I've already done, so we'll see what she says. And then having her change the letter, and I will sign the letter if she agrees to honoring no rate increases for 2 years. Otherwise, I will, can I send that in an email to you guys, what she said, and then you can tell me if you're okay with it, so we can move forward?
Yeah.
Okay. And then at the next meeting, we need to, I guess I need to let the folks know who were chosen. And we also need to set up a date for our next meeting. I'd love to do that while you're all right here.
I think we should set up a few dates just in case the other 3 members don't have that available date.
So Kendra had indicated that. Kendra had indicated that Mondays and Tuesdays don't work very well for
They're
her.
bad for her.
Tuesdays are also pretty taken up, at least for me, Christian. So Wednesday or Thursday. Like Wednesdays.
Okay.
And nights, I would imagine it would work better for most.
Yeah, I think it'd work. We do compensate for any. In our IGAs, we compensate for any. Loss of whatever it is, including babysitter and such. Something to consider. Also, we should probably look deeper into that. Ours. Under our IGA, we compensate for the need of, I think babysitter is the one I specifically remember. I don't know, if work loss would be included in that, but. For the housing. authority. But. That's an alternative. Yes, and I think. That it makes sense for it to be active. Also, just something to think about.
You're just saying to have an evening meeting.
Okay, so 5:30, Wednesdays, first Wednesday of the month. Is that, and we can float it past the others and,
We want to potentially. For this at least first upcoming meeting, just so we can guarantee the majority of people being here. Also put on the 26th.
of October.
So like that week before and that first week of November, just establish that it'll be the first week.
Because I think so this month having the next meeting be on the 26th.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, no offense to the other three, but we just tell them that that is the date. Saying, and then going forward. It's the first Wednesday of the month. Do we want to have?
First Wednesday month is not great, like there are a number of other maybe districts.
Do you want to do the last Wednesday of the month, since we're gonna do
Well,
26?
how many meetings do we want to have per month? Do we want to start hot? Do we want to just keep it to once a month?
I think initially, I like the idea of getting another meeting in October, so we can keep the ball moving. And then, I think once per month seems fine, we can certainly adjust that. I think if we get the DOLA money, I think it's gonna be a busier time for the subcommittee folks. Which we need to discuss how to recruit individuals for that.
I like the idea of the last of every month. Last Wednesday of every month.
Thanksgiving.
What?
No,
November 30th.
Technically, the last Wednesday is November 30th. So you
We like
missed
that.
What if, I mean, what about the second Wednesday of the month? Because then we, I mean, we'll have this meeting, then we have a meeting on the 26th where we can orient the new board members, then we have another meeting where we can hammer out more business.
Like it.
Because at the end, and then at the end of December, well, will be New Year's or Christmas or one of them.
Right, yeah, that
People
makes
off.
sense.
And let's do the second one of the month.
Okay, so October 26th. Next meeting. And. Does anybody know what the second Wednesday of
The
November
ninth.
is?
9th of November.
Wonderful. That was so much easier than emailing all of you.
Obviously, I'm not a board member, but the planning commission for the city of Leadville meets the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month in the evening, so that would be a conflict in my participation, just.
You just say Pueblo, too.
I'm sorry,
You just say Pueblo.
Pueblo, no, city of Leadville.
The second Wednesday?
Planning commission meets the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month.
And that's it, yeah, that,
Okay, how about the third?
Sure. That's not, so, all right, it just has to be the second Wednesday,
Yeah.
of November, and then we'll aim for a third. More regular.
So the third Wednesday is the 16th. Is anyone leaving that early for Thanksgiving?
It'd be like a whole housing day, but that's coalition.
Yeah.
housing. All right, is everyone okay with October 26th as the next meeting, the following meeting, November 16th, both at 5:30?
Go for it.
Yes, will you send out calendar invites to all of us, all the time?
I bet you for our October 26th meeting, I bet I'm at facilitation training.
All right, well, let's try that.
Double check.
Which I desperately need.
But you can come in virtually, right? Because it isn't.
It's night, yeah, so I could if I'm, yeah, absolutely.
We're down a Thursday.
Let's not make it hard. Let's just keep it.
What are you doing?
Yeah, that's fine.
We can do next one. I mean, well, for me. That's
Yeah,
a whole day.
I'm pretty sure the next day I think it's the 27th, 28th.
I'm not kidding there, so.
It's okay.
She says,
Yes.
Oh, it's in the wrong email.
Okay, I think we adjourn.
So 26th?
Yeah, let's just keep that and I will figure it out. Clearly, I don't think you need me, but we will.
but we do. You're not going in.
Right, okay.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
What's there? October 25th through the 27th. We just gonna do it by Zoom.
Yes,
Okay, we're done.
I'm fine with that.
I mean, because then we can do it, we can go in the boardroom. To just sort of last, in here at your facilitating.
It does. I just didn't teach her how to do it.
Brenda told me that. So
This is the first time that came in.
But if we set it up, that's.
Think about
So the only reason
process,
we didn't do the board is because Michael said that he felt like it would be better if we had our meetings in a
Our
more.
own space.
So,
Meet outside.
But I can commit to doing physical facilitation for you. If you got, if everyone is comfortable with that, I can set up. Get that.
everyone is
Okay.
comfortable.
Fine, but
Yeah.
make sure you get earlier. Like application is awful.
But I will teach you how to use
I
this.
hate to call you like.
Perfect. Everything will be up there.
Huh?